Hello, today we're going to be talking about the intuitive dominant types. There are 4 of them. You have the introverted intuition dominants, which are your INFJs and your INTJs. And you have the extroverted intuition dominants, which are your ENTPs and your ENFPs. There are several experiences that I feel like intuitive dominant people have, no matter which type of intuition you have in your top slot. We have a lot of common experiences, common feelings about our life experience. In my opinion, intuition is the least understood and most invalidated cognitive function that there is, at least at this point in our collective humanity. Intuition and sensing are on an axis with one another. They are our perceiving functions, that is our information gathering functions. Everybody uses both, and for an in-depth description of this, you can watch my video, Intuition versus Sensing. But in short, we either gather information with our 5 senses, that is literally what is right in front of us, or with more of a 6th sense, like an inner knowing, a gut feeling, a hunch. It involves lots of imagination, lots of looking beneath the surface to what's really going on. A lot of intuitive DOMs can sometimes not trust our 5 senses. We're looking for those deeper meanings, what's really going on, what's beneath the surface type thing. At this point in human history, intuition is not highly understood. It's not highly valued. Just look at our animal kingdom as a whole. Think about when we have an earthquake and you read about all the animals running for higher ground, like before it even ever happens. Now, some of that does involve 5 senses. They can perhaps pick up on subtleties. I have the personal belief that we were born with a lot of that stuff, a lot of that instinct, and it has been socialized out of us. Our current culture highly values sensing and thinking. Because this function, our go-to, is so undervalued and so misunderstood by society. These 4 types have a high likelihood of feeling isolation, loneliness, misunderstanding, and not being even seen in general. In particular, I think the 2 types that feel this the most would be the ENFP and the INFJ, and that is because they have a function stack that is exactly flipped upside down from what our current culture values. This is just my opinion and just something that I've kind of taken notice of, but I believe that at this point in history, our culture values sensing first, thinking second, feeling third, and intuition dead last. If you look at the ENFP and INFJ function stack, we're that flipped upside down: intuition, feeling, thinking, and then sensing. So it can leave us feeling extremely out of place. And this goes for all the intuitive DOMs. The way I describe it is, you know how you can oftentimes feel like you're not on the same page as someone? Well, most of the time when I'm around any group of people, I feel like we're not even reading from the same book. All of these types, but in particular ENFP and INFJ, can feel completely gaslit by society. If you know what gaslighting is, it's kind of like when you're being told one thing and you observe something totally different. And the way that we process, that is with our intuition, can cause this to happen a lot. So you may see something on the media, on the news, or have a politician saying something to us, and something doesn't quite feel right about that. And so the observation we make may not match up with what we're being told. And it can cause us to, because we have that inferior sensing function, it can really cause us to question our perception of reality. Human connection can be extremely difficult for all 4 of these types. We focus on what could be, on theories, on possibilities, big picture, systematic type thinking. We can spot large systematic issues before most people can. Most people can be totally oblivious, and if you're one of these 4 types, you can see it coming. It can feel like watching a disaster in slow motion, especially with these large systematic problems. It's like, I am one person, I see it coming, I'm too small to do anything about it. Does anyone else see what I see? I'll give an example from my own life experience. I used to work for a company, and I was pretty happy there for a corporate job. I loved the people that I worked with. The environment was great. They treated the employees really well. However, the larger environment was starting to change, and the company needed to shift more into a space of being more lean, of cutting costs, of being more efficient and being able to compete at a higher level. I saw executive decisions being made that did not match up with that. Now, an interesting thing about this company is that since it's such a great place to work, many people were lifers. They had been there like since straight out of college or straight out of high school, whatever the case is, and had that been the only place they'd ever worked. Me, on the other hand, I had worked at companies where they were downright cheap. I'm talking like locking up the office supplies and having to ask permission to get pens and a notepad, making you pay for coffee, nickel and diming you on your benefits, and like watching our insurance benefits go down and the costs go up. I had seen a bigger picture of the workforce than most of the people at this company. So when I saw decisions being made, I was like, it really set off my intuition. I was like, this does not match up where we need to go at all. And I was just like a nobody, basically. I was an underling at this company. I didn't have any direct reports. I would kind of vocalize my opinions and they would just be like, yeah. I feel like they just kind of thought, well, you don't have all the facts. It was definitely one of those cases where I felt like we were watching a movie and I was watching a totally different movie than everybody else was. And I'm like, how do y'all not see this? Ultimately, even though I was pretty happy at that job, I ended up leaving for another job, and because I just felt like ultimately with the decisions that I saw being made, the company would not exist in 5 to 10 years. And sure enough, 10 years later, I heard all my friends there saying that they lost the contract, they don't exist anymore. But that whole situation, I felt a little bit crazy. Like, doesn't anybody else, like, I'm not even in management. How come I see this and nobody else does? Yeah, so having that visionary type disposition, it can lead you to kind of feel alone. Like, why doesn't anyone else see it like I do? I do have some solutions for you. Number one, intuitive doms need other intuitive dom friends. We need connections with other intuitive dominants. This is harder to come by than you would think. And it's something that specifically I, in my own life, need more of right now. We need each other. It's so funny. Recently, I have noticed how much I surround myself with music and books that like massively inspire me. And I don't do this on purpose, but like somewhere along the way, if I'll start following someone, and like I've become a fan of their work or whatever, and I'll start following them, and I'll just happen to notice like, I think this person is an intuitive dom. Usually, for me personally, it's an ENTP or an ENFP. And that's something about these two types, the introverted intuitives and the extroverted intuitives. We are such good matches for one another. We need each other's skills. I did a whole video on this and I will link it here, but in short, extroverted intuitives are very aware of the possibilities. They are so optimistic about the possibilities. They can see things that other people just totally miss. On the other hand, the introverted intuitives, we're looking for that one best path forward. We're aware of the possibilities, but we're throwing them out. We don't want all the possibilities. We just want the one best path. We need each other, these two types, because introverted intuitives like myself, oftentimes we will cancel out a possibility and be too pissed, A lot of times, the introverted intuitives will get so focused on finding the one best path, we may throw out a perfectly good possibility just because we're a little too pessimistic about it. The extroverted intuitives can kind of open us up and help us to see more possibilities, and we need that. Conversely, the extroverted intuitives need some direction. They can see so many possibilities and get excited by those possibilities that they don't actually move forward and pick the one best one. They're not as aware of optimizing as we, the introverted intuitives, are. Both types are extremely adept at pattern recognition, very future oriented, playing things out into the future. So we have that in common. So if you get these types together, they will end up discussing theories and abstract. Ooh, that was my ice maker. When you get these two types together, they can end up having, shut up, ice maker. It is funny how these types kind of gravitate towards one another. I can just be like at the grocery store or the post office or doctor's office or DMV, and some like random person will just come strike up a conversation with me and we'll talk and like just kind of click a little bit, and We may never see each other again. And it'll kind of occur to me like, I'm pretty sure that was an ENFP or an ENTP. It's funny, they just find me. INFJs and INTJs, have you noticed this before? Not necessarily even romantically, just like conversationally, just like randomly. Number 2, all those great visions that we have, we need to share with the rest of the world. We need to create. We need to write, create, make YouTube videos. INFJ and INTJ, get okay with visibility. Get used to being seen. Get over that SE inferior. Practice makes perfect. You have very, very valuable insights. You guys, I'm gonna put myself in this too. We have that ability to see the one path forward, the one best path, and get all of humanity on that path. But we have to speak and communicate our impressions out to the masses. It's very, very common for INFJs and INTJs to notice these things and then just say nothing. Because we're not starter types, because we suffer with perfectionism, a lot of times we can get stuck in analysis paralysis. If you don't like being on camera, write. If you don't like writing, maybe start a podcast. There are multiple ways to get your ideas out. ENTPs and ENFPs, you guys help humanity to recognize what is possible. So many times we write off possibilities or don't even see them because we just can't expand our thinking enough. We don't have the imagination and the ability to tap into as many possibilities as you guys can. You guys are complete masters of ingenuity and invention and great ideas, and we need that. We need your ideas and your perspective, and my message for you is to learn to find your finisher. ENTPs and ENFPs are starter types. You have all the ideas, you have all these great things that you could share with humanity, and you may start on them, but you have a tough time following through and finishing things. My biggest piece of advice to you would be to finish things that you really care about, those things that you are most passionate about. That drive and that passion and actually caring about the thing that you're working on can carry you through to following through and finishing. Whether that be books, music, podcasts, again, any sort of creative media. Number 3, we need to team up and join forces, you guys. We're made to work together. These 2 types, the extrovert intuitives and the introvert intuitives, we need to come together, and with the one half of us seeing all the many possibilities and the other with the ability to find the best path, we can really change humanity. Whether it be through medical innovations or people-focused ideals, whether it be how we treat each other or how we move forward as a human race. These are not small things. We are at a time where things are changing super quickly. It actually even, I'm a planner. I like to plan. I'm on the one best path. I'm trying to find that one best path. It's hard to plan these days. Things change and shift so quickly. We need our visionary thinkers on board, brainstorming, thinking of all those possibilities, looking at all of them, and finding the best path forward for all of us. This is something that I hope to do in my own life. I do have an INTJ in my life. I currently do not have any DOMs that I know of, none that I'm close to. I need that. Maybe as a result of this channel, we will help each other find each other. What's really special about these types is the type of connection you can form with each other is like no other. You can't just run around having theoretical conversations with just anybody, you know what I'm saying? To be able to connect in the way that we want to, in the way that we desire to, we need each other. I would love to hear about your experience. Are you intuitive dominant? Do you feel out of place? Do you feel like you're reading a different book than everyone else? Do you feel kind of like an alien, like a fish out of water? Have you found your intuitive dominant compadres, your partners in crime? Leave me a comment. I would love to hear about it. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to hit subscribe, bell icon, and thumbs up if you learned something or had any insights from this video. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.